I want to talk Saints draft here. One thing that I need to give a round of applause. The Saints front office made 9 draft selections. Incredible stuff. They did not trade up one time. I got to think that Kellen Moore may have locked Mickey Loomis and Jeff Ireland in a closet somewhere and made the picks himself. I don't know. But this is a small deviation from the organization's past and what we've come to see from them. And some of the trade-ups have worked. Some of the trade-ups have been disastrous. But they usually did it. In fact, they almost always did it. And they did not do it over the weekend. And what have I said over and over and over again? They got to get younger and cheaper. The only way to get younger and cheaper is to hit on draft picks and find diamonds in the rough in undrafted free agent ranks. And the Saints did everything they could, short of trading back, to get as young and cheap as they could. So I haven't been on since the draft, so I'll quickly kind of run through what I thought of the selections. And once again, nobody, and I mean nobody, is paying me to be an NFL scout. So I'm not dipping in those waters. All I can really analyze is the idea behind the Saints selections. And I'll critique and praise that, and we'll see if the Saints personnel department hits. The draft, as you know, is a crapshoot. But if your idea is sound, that's the first step in making things positive. So you start with Kelvin Banks in the first round. I love the pick. I think it's very sensible. Kelvin Banks was a 5-star recruit, which I know doesn't matter in the NFL, but it proves the talent level that people saw early on. He immediately got to Austin, Texas, and was a left tackle. He was a left tackle for great offenses. He's really big. He moves really well. He's played a ton of football, and by all accounts, I certainly can't know this, but by all accounts, is a wonderful young person. That checks a lot of boxes. I realize the Saints have to continuously sink assets into this offensive line. But you feel like 2 of them are big-time hits. You feel like Fuaga is a hit at left tackle, and you know that McCoy is a hit at center. Ruiz is what he is, and this is the last year of Trevor Penning, and you got to figure out left guard, and you feel like Kelvin Banks is either going to play left guard or kick Penning out of the lineup or over to left guard. But if you hit on this, it's great. And you feel like there's a really high floor for Kelvin Banks. He's big, he's strong, he's played a lot, high-level recruit, high-level college player. This is not as big a flyer as Trevor Penning from Northern Iowa. I love the pick. It makes a lot of sense. You took Tyler Shook in the second round. I'm going to talk about Tyler Shook for an entire segment on tomorrow's show. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that because that's obviously the most impactful pick here. But I don't want to do it in 3 minutes. I want to do it in 12 minutes, so we'll do that tomorrow. Then in the third round, 71st, you take Vernon Broughton from Texas, defensive lineman. 6'4", 305, spent 5 years at Texas, didn't start until his 5th year. But in some of their biggest games, he made big plays. 2 sacks at Texas A&M, had a sack against Ohio State. I think he slots behind Devon Godshaw at defensive tackle, and you had a guy vouching for him very clearly in the room. I don't need to be in the Saints draft room to know that Bo Davis had something to do with this pick. He coached the man. So you've got a real intimate knowledge of what he's like in the locker room, on the practice field, on the sideline, on the field, with his teammates, what he can do, what he can't do. And you need defensive tackle help. Brian Brzee is a solid pass rusher that's got some work to do in the run-stopping portion of the game, but he's young and cheap. And you bring in Vernon Broughton in the third round, and if he is what his profile would be, which is a guy who's built to stop the run a little bit more, you let him learn from Devon Godshaw, who's made a career out of stopping the run, and he's probably the next piece. Again, you've got to get 4 starters out of this draft. That's the number I've been going with for a month now. You've got to get 4 starters. If that's one of them, that's a really good spot for you to hit. Jonas Sanker, safety from Virginia, the other third-round pick. I thought there was no way they were going to take both third-round picks. That screamed trade back up into the second round, but they stayed, and they took another third-round pick there at 93 with Jonas Sanker. He's a really good athlete. In high school, he played running back, quarterback, safety, and basketball. That's pretty good. He made 33 college starts. That's a lot of playing. 17 pass breakups, 273 tackles. I love that number. 13 tackles for loss. That shows me aggressive play at the safety position. And it's a huge need for this team. So you go get a first-team All-ACC safety who was the team defensive MVP, and you've got an aging Tyrann Mathieu. You've got whatever you got with Jordan Howden. You go get Justin Reed. But you need safety play, and you need to get younger and cheaper at safety. Justin Reed is not cheap. Tyrann Mathieu is certainly not cheap. He's certainly not young. Howden is what he is. I don't know if that's a guy you've got big plans for at safety. If that works out, there is a need there, and I like a lot of the profile here of a really good athlete with a lot of tackles and some aggressive play that was the best player on his defense. I like that in Jonas Sanker. Danny Stutzman is somebody we're very familiar with here in the SEC. He was the linchpin of the Oklahoma defense the last couple of years. Now, it wasn't a great defense, but he was massively productive for 4 years. He's big and physical at 6'4", 243. He is 9th all-time at Oklahoma in tackles. 9th all-time at Oklahoma at tackles. That is a ton of production at one of the best linebacker schools in college football history. He had 37 starts. He was a consensus All-American. He was a finalist for the Butkus Award. Look, 376 tackles and 36 tackles for loss kind of speaks for itself. Now, being productive at the college level doesn't necessarily automatically translate to the NFL level, and some teams like to go a little bit more upside, a little bit more measurables. This is a production pick. It's a 4th-round pick. A lot of those don't work. But the thought process is pretty sound because some point, the clock's going to run out on Demario Davis at some point. And Pete Werner is a solid player. He's not a great player. And you signed Willie Gay for years, a stopgap, and there's just not a lot of proven options at linebacker. While you've been able to just pencil in Demario Davis game after game after game, year after year after year, all-pro, 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 Pro Bowl, like great player. Eventually the clock runs out. Somebody's got to be waiting in the wings. Are you anxious about replacing a 4-time All-Pro with a 4th-round pick? Probably not. But you got a 4th-round pick, and you take a chance that a guy who was insanely productive in college can translate some of that to the NFL. I like the pick of Danny Stutzman there. Good idea in the 4th round. Quincy Riley, a guy that we talked to Mark Annis about in the first hour. That's a guy at Louisville who is aggressive and will make plays on the football. Mark said it in the first hour. Like, he may get burned here or there, but he may burn that offense as well. And I'd like a guy who can make some plays and maybe teach him to be a little bit more conservative. The old saying is I'd rather say whoa, not go. Like, you don't want a guy that's just passive and teach, hey, you got to go. Like, you want somebody that's 90-0 that's willing to go make some plays and teach him at times, hey, let's back off on this instance. It's a 4th-round pick, 131st overall, good player at Louisville, all-conference player at Louisville. We'll see. You've certainly got a need there with no Adebo, with no Lattimore. You've got Alontae Taylor. You got Kool-Aid McKinstry. You need guys to come in the secondary, so you take Quincy Riley from Louisville there. The 6th-round pick I actually love. I think this could really be a hit. You take Devin Neal, the running back from Kansas. He's a Lawrence native, a career Kansas Jayhawk, played 49 games for Kansas. He had 760 carries, ran for 4,343 yards, averaged almost 6 yards per carry, had 49 touchdowns, 77 catches for almost 10 yards a catch. He's the all-time leading rusher in Kansas history. He's got the school record for rushing touchdowns, scrimmage touchdowns, 100-yard games. He's 5'11", 213, so reasonable size. And if you've got a pick in the backfield like the Saints do, who can't stay healthy and goes through one drill and can't practice for a month and a half, you might need to look elsewhere for help. And I think you've got a guy in Devin Neal who might be able to be the next guy after Kamara and certainly can help you in the passing game because he's proven that at the college level. He's very comfortable doing that. And I feel like you've got a real chance for a hit here in the 6th round. this is the type of pick that is why you don't have to reach for a running back early on, and you can find one that's really productive later on. I know what the NFL looked like this past year. I know that Saquon Barkley was maybe the biggest reason the Eagles won the Super Bowl. I get it. But not everybody's got Saquon Barkley. You can get a really functional running back in the later rounds, in the undrafted free agent ranks. We've seen it from the Saints, and none more famous than Pierre Thomas. But I like this pick of Devin Neal. I think it's got a real chance to work. You go get a tight end in Molokai Madival from UCLA, who did a lot of blocking early in his career, blossomed in his senior year as a pass catcher. You're taking a flyer there on a position that you've kind of got sewn up right now because of the Juwan Johnson contract that I didn't love. But you take a flyer there at tight end. I didn't know if they would go that route. I don't know that I would have gone that route. And then you go get Fadil Diggs, an edge player from Syracuse, started his career at Texas A&M, went and followed his defensive line coach up to Syracuse where he was the defensive coordinator. I think that's a guy who's got some real pass rushing chops that if you hit on the one trait there in the seventh round, hit on that one trait that's pass rusher, that's a functional player. And you feel like you've probably missed on Isaiah Foskey, but maybe you hit on a flyer there with Diggs. I like the idea of an elite trait in the 7th round that may be a diamond in the rough. I'm okay in the middle round with Stutzman, who's all productivity. Elite trait, I like that in the last round. The one issue I had with the Saints draft, I love that they took 9 picks. I probably, instead of tight end, would have gone wide receiver in the 7th round. You're short on wide receivers, in my opinion, and I'd like to maybe take a flyer there. But that was my only complaint. I liked basically everything else that I saw. I'm not here to tell you who's making the roster, who's this great on film. That's not where my bread's buttered. But yeah, I thought we've criticized the Saints front office a lot. I was glad they made all 9 picks, and I can see where they're coming from on all of them. So I thought a pretty good draft for New Orleans. Now we see what they can get out of it. And I've told you this, and I've told you this, and I've told you this, and I'll stick to this. I'll keep telling you, and I'll remember that I've said this. They need 4 starters out of this draft. You took 9 picks. I need 4 starters. That's not even 50%. You can get that. I think that's a success. Hey, it's Hunt. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.